Guys, okay, so today I've got another foundation for you. This is the Maybelline Dream Matte Mouse. I'm sure we've all seen this. This has been around for a while, for a pretty long while actually. And I have actually tried this in the past, but I don't really remember. The only thing I remember about it is that it was too orange. Like Maybelline does that, like this is the shade, and this is called Porcelain Ivy, like Ivy. This is the cap, so I feel like the cap looks a little bit lighter than the actual product. That doesn't always mean much, but Maybelline kind of has this thing where they have orangey foundations. I don't know that I've found one. Well, this, I think the 24-hour Superstay one was light enough and not too orangey. But anyway, we'll just see. I'm just going to go ahead and dip my brush into this and just pick up a tiny bit. It's pretty stiff. I mean, obviously it's a mousse texture, but I'm not tapping very hard, but it feels a little bit stiffer than I was expecting, so. All right, let's go ahead and just get started. One thing about mousse foundations is that they usually are pretty lightweight. And the Rimmel Stay Matte foundation is a mousse texture, but it's in a squeezy tube. And I actually did like that one, but I kind of like this, how I can tap the brush into it and just get the tiniest bit and just build up slowly, make sure it's worked into my skin. And so far, actually from this distance, it's actually looking really, really good. Even though it's a Stay Matte, it's looking like, ooh, my car is hot today. It's just looking like it's evening my skin. It doesn't look like it's providing a ton of coverage, but it just looks like it's evening my skin out and not looking like a cakey mess. You don't have to build up this slowly. This is just a personal preference of mine. I'm usually pretty laid back with just about everything I do. And if I'm going to sit down to put my makeup on, ordinarily I'm going to take my time a little bit. If I'm running late, that's a different story, but I don't usually like to freak out about very much stuff, so. Okay, I feel like that was a little bit of a clinger right there. Okay, so you can see, like, there's not a ton of coverage. I'm going to take my finger. It's really, really mousse-like, the texture, so just going to take my finger and build up a little bit right there just to see. And we're getting a tiny bit more coverage, but really not much. Alright, so you kind of get an idea of the coverage. It's not terrible. It's decent coverage, but I've got so much to cover that nothing really ever covers that. Certainly not fully covers that. Some cover better than others, but you know, there's a little bit of a close-up look. I could try a sponge. I do have a sponge with me today for the other side to try. Uh-oh, I may not have enough close mirror for today. Oh no, yes I do. Oh, it actually looks really, really nice at this point. Yeah, it's a tiny, tiny bit crusty on some of my dry patches. And of course I'll update my thoughts and everything in the description later on, and I'll go home and check it in different lighting and different mirrors and stuff. But at this point it's honestly looking pretty decent, and I was not expecting that at all. I was expecting it to look not good, dry and crusty, but it does not. There's some on my sponge. I mean, it is looking a little bit visible on some of my drier patches. But not bad at all. And it's not looking completely matte, really. So I don't know if there's not any claims or anything. It just gives you the ingredients. On here it just says Dream Matte Mousse. It's got 0.64 ounces, so not a full ounce. This was the lightest shade, which is Porcelain Ivory Light number 1. So honestly, let me get a little bit. Oh, you have to be careful. And I really would tap it because I just drug my finger across, and you can see like it's gonna want to pick up out of the pot. So yeah, I would say this is a pretty good skin tone match for me for this time of the year, and especially after I had that sunburn. I still have a little bit of a tan from that, if you can see. Like, see, this is my actual skin tone, which is really white, and then here's my tan. My little bit of a tan. So yeah, I do like the shade of this. It's pretty decent. I think I do prefer the brush application though. I'm gonna put a little bit more on, just so we can see how much we can build this up. So I think personally for me, I think the best way to pick this up is with something flat, either the flat end of the sponge or a flat buffing foundation brush would be the best way to pick this up out of the container. Unless you're going to dot it on, you probably could do that, but it's really moussey, so you might get more than you want if you just pick it up with your finger. And I always say that it's usually better to build your makeup up slowly instead of just putting a whole ton on there and then trying to blend it out and get rid of more that you don't need. It's usually more difficult to do that and looks less natural on your skin. All right. Okay, so this is the best looking foundation I've done in a while. It actually looks really good on my skin. It does kind of have a makeup look though. But honestly, it's not, I would rather have it look like this. I don't know if you guys can see, looking a teeny tiny bit makeup-y, than to look dry and crusty and like that on my skin. I mean, it looks like makeup because I am wearing makeup. I don't think there's much getting around that, but it really doesn't look that bad at all. It's looking pretty natural on my skin. It is kind of transferring though, so this is one of those that I'm going to try and pick up any excess with this sponge just to see. I don't really see that I'm getting much excess off, but this might be a good one if you have, if you might want to apply it and then use a separate clean brush. Like this is a clean brush. It's not really a foundation brush, it's more of like, it's a little bit flimsier, so it's more of like a powder brush. But I'm getting a little bit of the extra off with that, so there's not just too much product. And you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but it did take down some of the excess product. And yeah, so as a first impression in this lighting, it's looking pretty good. I will of course wear it for the rest of the day. I will update my thoughts in the description below, how it looked, how it wore. This looks like it's going to be one of those that is matte. I would give it a good solid matte coverage, but not mattifying. So it is matte, goes on matte. It's not dewy or anything like that. I'm going to put a tiny bit extra right here around my nose. But it's not mattifying, so you might still get oily throughout the day because it's not going to control your oil. So, all right, thank you guys so much for watching. Get a good look of the coverage. So the coverage not the most amazing. Again, I'm going to put a little bit extra around my eye. I wouldn't really recommend to continue building this up and building it up. It's just going to start to look like cake frosting, you know, just not the greatest. So, but you can see, like, at first, when you first put it on, I'm getting a lot of light reflection. So it may matte down as it dries or sets. But it doesn't really set. So this might still transfer. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.